أشهد الله إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد عبده ورسوله.
الله أكبر.
كلنا سمعنا بالكثير من الأشخاص الذين اعتنقوا الإسلام مؤخرا، خصوصا المسيحيين، صحيح؟ لكننا نادرا ما نشاهد أمثلة حيث يكتشف فيها مبشرا حقيقيا الإسلام ويقبله. في مقطع الفيديو هذا سنتناول مثالا شاهدا على ذلك.
هنشوف مع بعض فيديو جديد وحصري للقس الروسي فلاديمير أوغريموف، وهنتعرف على قصة إسلامه مع بعض.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله. الله أكبر.
فقد فاجأ القسيس السويدي ليفشتني البالغ من العمر 75 عاما الجميع بإعلان إسلامه وتركه لديانته المسيحية. ليس هذا فحسب، بل إنه قرر تغيير اسمه أيضا إلى أحمد، ومن ثم هاجر إلى المغرب للاستقرار هناك بعد اعتناقه دين الإسلام.
Yeah, there was one time I remember I was invited to go and speak to a gathering of monks and priests.
I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here at St. Paul Lutheran Church today.
So I just want to remind you, I'm a Muslim. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. And I invite you all to become Muslims for your salvation.
That Muslim means to submit to the God of Abraham. And I submitted to the God of Abraham with my whole heart, with my life, and I'm now a part of that community. Thank you for letting us be here with you today. We love you very much. May God bless this congregation and direct you and guide you on your path of faith. And we thank you for receiving us as your brothers.
ووقف هذا الكاهن وقال أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمد رسول الله. وكانت المفاجأة الكبرى أن كل ما في هذا المكان رددوا كلمة التوحيد وقبلوا بالإسلام.
I will speak in Arabic and then I will translate in English. Everybody repeat after me. Ashhadu Allah ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. I bear witness there's none worthy of worship except Allah and Muhammad is his final messenger. الله أكبر.
إنهم يسلمون لما يبحثوا في الإسلام. اللي بيسلم هم الكبراء عندهم، هم أصحاب العلم وأصحاب الدين والقساوسة في الكنائس والعلماء في الكليات والذين يدرسون ويتعلمون. في الوقت الذي نجد أن من يخرج من عندنا لو كان هناك خارج هم الفساق الذين يبحثون عن شهواتهم أو الجهلة الذين تم استغلال جهلهم وقلة اطلاعهم. وهذا هو الفرق. اللي بيجي لنا أسياد في قومهم، واحد زي فلاديمير أوغرينوف قس يترك ما وراءه ويصير مسلما، واللي بيخرج من عندنا أراذل القوم. عمرك ما تسمع إن في شيخ ترك الإسلام أو عالم ترك الإسلام أو رجلا ذا وضع وقيمة من المسلمين ترك الإسلام، إلا إن كان مدسوسا في البداية علشان يخبط بعد كده في الإسلام، فلما ينكشف يقول لك أنا تركت الإسلام وصرت غير مسلم. اللهم ثبتنا على الإسلام حتى نلقاك.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
وده ما كانش القس الروسي الوحيد اللي أعلن إسلامه، لكن فيه كمان القس الروسي فيلادزلاف سوخين والقس الروسي ميخائيل كيزليف والقس الروسي فيشزلاف بولوسين. وأجمل جزئية في رحلة بحثهم عن الإسلام واللي بتلاقيها دايما قاسم مشترك ما بين كل اللي بيعتنقوا الإسلام، ألا هو التوحيد الخالص في الإسلام.
And so that's what Islam teaches, tawheed, that God is one. And I feel like I got born again when I finally realized that God is one.
That's it. La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. There's nothing worthy of worship except the creator of the heavens and earth, Allah. Simple. That's what you have.
Islam is the only monotheistic religion. There's no Trinity. It never makes sense. Three never makes one. The Quran, even in the English translation, just completely made sense to me.
Well, our next guest did just that. After being a Catholic priest in Britain, he left to become a teacher and studied in Egypt, where he converted to Islam and became a Muslim. He is now in Ireland to spread the word of the Quran, and he joins us in studio this morning. Good morning to you.
He was a Catholic priest.
I knew I needed to become Muslim. I knew that. So it was that next year where I became a Muslim, alhamdulillah.
I believe America's on the edge of a great awakening, a spiritual awakening, where many people will begin to understand what is Islam and will come forward.
I see the beauty of Islam in a very strong way, a simple approach to God, a simple approach to prayer and devotion. I'm very touched by 5 times a day praying. I'm very touched by the Ramadan, by the fasting, the beautiful presence of God and the power of God.
هومز ريدن راهبة مسيحية تصلي 5 مرات في اليوم على الطريقة الإسلامية بعد اعتناقها الإسلام.
What brought me to Islam is me trying to convince someone else to become a Christian.
I read the Quran and I see that thread of the message of God from Adam to Abraham, Moses, David, Saul, all the way through to Muhammad.
جيرالد ديركس عالم أمريكي كبير وواحد من أكبر القساوسة بأمريكا، أراد في يوم من الأيام أن يقارن بين القرآن الكريم وكتاب الإنجيل المقدس ليتصيد الأخطاء في القرآن وليعرف الحقيقة. ولكن بعد لحظات قليلة من إمساكه للقرآن الكريم وجد سراً خطيراً أشبه بالمعجزة جعله يعتنق الإسلام. لنتابع ما الذي حدث وماذا وجد في القرآن الكريم ولماذا قرر اعتناق الإسلام فوراً. دعونا نكتشف. ولكن
الله أكبر.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, God is great. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
أحبك ربي، أحبك ربي، أحبك ربي، أحبك ربي.
I love you, Allah.
How priests and preachers enter Islam.
Let me introduce you to my faith. We have one God, His name's Allah, Allah. And His final messenger's Muhammad, peace be upon him. This is our religion, Islam, Islam. This is the Deen Show.
I love you very much, Allah, all the work that you're doing.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Deen Show. I'm your host, and we have some exciting guests in the Deen Show studio. Former pastor, and also someone who looks like Jesus. That's right. Here on the Deen Show, when we come.
But how was it possible that this man, a priest of 30 years, decided to join Islam? As a priest, he knows what is right and what is wrong. What informed his decision to become a Muslim after 30 years of bromance with Christianity?
The best way is through our actions. It was the hug of Shafiq when I asked to come in, brought me into Islam. And it's our hugs and our kindness and our smiles and our watching out for others that's going to bring them to Islam. I believe America's on the edge of a great awakening, a spiritual awakening, where many people will begin to understand what is Islam and will come forward. God bless you all. Thank you for your prayers.
سلم وصافح الوجود، سلم فربنا ودود، وكن كناثير الورود الفائحة بالوئام.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you guys doing?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Samuel, did I introduce it right? Former pastor?
That's correct.
and you also studied at the Bible University called?
Well, it's Faith Theological Seminary and then Liberty Baptist Theological Seminary, which was founded by Jerry Falwell.
Yes.
I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here at St. Paul Lutheran Church today. Briefly, my path to Saudi Arabia led to working on a project involving a new American contemporary English translation of the Quran. But as I read, my life began to change because many of the things I'd been told about Islam, I found out were false. I never knew that Muslims loved the Virgin Mary, or that there were two large sections of the Quran talking about the Virgin Mary and the virgin birth of Christ. I never realized that there was so much respect for Christ, the Messiah of God, so much respect in that country that they would even name some of their children Asa or Jesus. I have one with me today. So that was my path, and I won't say too much more about it other than the fact that Muslim means to submit to the God of Abraham. And I submitted to the God of Abraham with my whole heart, with my life, and I'm now a part of that community. Thank you for letting us be here with you today. We love you very much. May God bless this congregation and direct you and guide you on your path of faith. And we thank you for receiving us as your brothers. Most of what I had heard was extremely negative. In America, our news channels boosted their on-air ratings by regularly sensationalizing breaking news of terrorism. Every 30 minutes, one witnessed horrific scenes of bombings and bloodshed and murder, often one Muslim group fighting against another Muslim group. Well, as you can imagine, having no knowledge of Islam, I had hundreds and hundreds of questions. I was shocked as I read to find that Jesus, peace be upon him, was often mentioned in the Quran. Jesus was presented as one of the greatest prophets. And even the story of the virgin birth was mentioned there. Many of the miracles that Jesus had done, I found them in the Quran. There were even a couple of Jesus miracles mentioned in the Quran that were not mentioned in the Bible. And now I have found absolute peace in Islam, in a faith that I once thought was hostile. I found friendship and hope amongst a fraternity of other Muslim brothers and sisters. I have found a family of believers.
Here in the United States, while the Muslim contingent numbers an estimated 7 to 8 million, it's growing rapidly. 20,000 new converts each year, 4 times as many women as men.
If you're not Muslim, stop scrolling. Listen, before I became Muslim, I thought that Allah was a different God. It's not. It's the same God. It's the creator of the universe. Because I'm Muslim now that I know this. Not just because of that, but I learned a lot about Islam, and all of my original beliefs kind of already lined up with all of it. In Christianity, I was like, when people asked me about the Trinity, I literally couldn't explain it. I was like, wow, you're right. I haven't even thought about it like that. So it makes sense. Islam makes sense. Islam is so beautifully making sense.
I would like to tell you that Islam is amazingly coming up with a lot of women who are entering Islam at a time when people are saying that Islam is oppressive to women, and also the priests, preachers, ministers like myself who have come to Islam are in great numbers.
After going to Catholic school for 12 years, my faith needed a little bit more depth in it, and I was able to find it in Islam.
A former female priest who spent more than 2 decades in the Episcopal Church is now speaking out after being defrocked because she embraced another faith. Today, Ann Holmes Redding calls herself both a Christian and a Muslim, but her move to Islam...
In fact, she says it was Jesus himself who led her to Islam.
You think Jesus
led you to become a Muslim?
Yes.
Muslims believe in Jesus. We love Jesus so much, and we can't even be Muslim really if we don't believe in Jesus, because that's one of our stepping stones to our religion.
The name exalted over and over in Islam is Jesus.
I was told that Jesus is the Messiah who will come back at the end of time to establish the kingdom of justice and peace.
Not Muhammad?
Not Muhammad, the Christ, son of Mary. You cannot be a Muslim if you don't believe Jesus is the Messiah. It's in the Quran.
Islam is a faith. It's a way of living before God, of responding to the daily commands of the Creator.
As a Christian, I consider Jesus a prophet, but he's a prophet of the one God. There's not several. So as a Christian, I worship Allah. It's a very inclusive religion, more inclusive than Judaism or Christianity. Judaism has its chosen people, the circumcised. Christianity has its chosen people, the baptized. The chosen people of the Quran are all monotheists, any of them. From Adam on, there's an unceasing stream of prophets, beginning with Adam, coming down through Isaiah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, John the Baptist, Mary, the mother of Jesus.
He went to Nigeria to apparently preach the gospel. He succeeded and he came back to Syria alone. But how did he become a Muslim at the middle of everything?
What do you as a Christian theologian make of the prophethood of Muhammad? Do you have any thoughts about that?
I do think that Muhammad was a genuine prophet of God, and that he was raised up by God, and that the Quran is in some way an expression of God's revelation. So I do think that.
Ну, я вот просто знаю людей, которые вникают в смысл, например, мусульманства, и им очень нравится.
Если ислам привлекателен, то именно за счет того, что там содержится нечто, что близко приближается к истине. Там учение о едином Боге, например.
ثم يقول القس فلاديمير أوغرينوف إن هو لما راح بقى تركيا دولة إسلامية قال: فلما سمعت الأذان شعرت إن قلبي يخلع من مكانه. حس إن الأذان ده حاجة تانية غير اللي عمره عاش عليها. ومن هنا كانت رحلة دخول فلاديمير أوغرينوف إلى الإسلام، وفعلا صار مسلما. إنهم يسلمون لما يبحثوا في الإسلام. اللي بيسلم هم الكبراء عندهم، هم أصحاب العلم وأصحاب الدين والقساوسة في الكنائس والعلماء في الكليات والذين يدرسون ويتعلمون. في الوقت الذي نجد أن من يخرج من عندنا لو كان هناك خارج هم الفساق الذين يبحثون عن شهواتهم أو الجهلة الذين تم استغلال جهلهم وقلة اطلاعهم. وهذا هو الفرق اللي بيجي لنا أسياد في قومهم. واحد زي فلاديمير أوغرينوف قس يترك ما وراءه ويصير مسلما، واللي بيخرج من عندنا أراذل القوم. عمرك ما تسمع إن في شيخ ترك الإسلام أو عالم ترك الإسلام أو رجلا ذا وضع وقيمة من المسلمين ترك الإسلام، إلا إن كان مدسوسا في البداية علشان يخبط بعد كده في الإسلام، فلما ينكشف يقول لك أنا تركت الإسلام وصرت غير مسلم. اللهم ثبتنا على الإسلام حتى نلقاك، وجزاكم الله خيرا، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
إن أعجبك الفيديو لا تنسى الضغط على زر أعجبني ومشاركة الفيديو، ولكي يصلك كل جديد اشترك في قناة
I love you, Allah.